Hello and welcome to the BCRC show, the show that advocates that BC resources should make BC jobs. I am your host, Clint Chappell. Before we get started here today, guys, I just want to thank all the frontline and essential workers who are currently keeping us safe from the terrible COVID-19 virus. Obviously, summertime is a beautiful time. We've had a recent uptick here in cases. Let's just all make sure we're being safe, helping each other out, looking after thy neighbor type idea, and making sure everybody is also enjoying summer. So I think that is very, very important. Another big shout out to all the local businesses in all over BC who have had a tough 2020 here. Let's make sure that we're getting them through 2020 so those businesses stay open to 2021. I think it's really important because, as I say every show, it's not just I'm a BC resource. It's also that you're a BC resource and we all are BC resources. So today, my guest on the BCRC show is Allie Blades of CAPP and Canada Energy Citizens. How's it going today, Allie?
I'm doing really well, Clint. Thanks for asking. How are you?
Oh, the weather out here wasn't too good today in Prince George. I'm not going to lie, but it's been really nice this week. So you know what? It's been good. I got the golf clubs out there last weekend. I didn't perform too well, but thank you to everyone at Aspen Golf Course. That was lots of fun out there. And one more person, actually, before we get started, I want to thank is Hubspace. It's a cool little facility down Prince George here. If anybody wants to rent office space, make sure you hit up Chris King and he'll get you all set up here in Hubspace. We do the show and the podcast from the Bank Vault. I believe there's a local newspaper here that also does some recordings here. So let's just make sure that if you guys need any spaces, come to Hubspace. So Allie, you ready to get this started? Are you ready to get some questions going?
I am. This is really exciting. Let's do it.
All right. So if you guys have any questions for Allie Blades, please make sure you leave them in the comment section. We will get to them once we kind of get through our little interview here that we're going to be doing with her. So let's just talk about kind of what is the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers, which is way easier to pronounce as CAPP. What is it all about? Who are they?
So the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers is the unified voice for Canada's upstream oil, natural gas. CAPP.
CAPP, exactly. So also, with CAPP also comes the Canadian Energy Citizens. Can you explain let's explain about these groups and what they're about really. So what are these two groups really about?
Yeah, so perhaps it's easiest if I can explain a little bit about me and the role that I play. So I'm the BC advisor for citizen engagement and outreach on the CAPP team based out of the Vancouver office. And then part of my role is engaging with communities, whether those are business leaders, universities, or the broader public. And that broader public engagement is Canada's Energy Citizens. We're the largest grassroots oil, natural gas group in Canada with over 500,000 grassroots supporters.
Wow. We're really hoping the BCRC gets there someday. I mean, that
One
is
day
phenomenal. One day soon. That's right. We're going to get the old CAPP and Canada Energy Citizens bump here in the next couple days and tonight. So let's see how many followers we can gain, and also let's see how many followers from the BCRC can get involved with CAPP and make sure you're liking and sharing their content. I think it's super important that CAPP has a very strong presence not only in Alberta but in Eastern Canada. Let's try to make them have a strong presence here in BC as well. And also, with that comes working with the BCRC, a local grassroots group that really I know has caught CAPP's eye, and I know has caught Canada Energy Citizens' eye. So let's work together and make sure that we get people to realize that BC resources should make BC jobs. So
yeah, certainly a lot of that synergy between the work that both of us do, and that's really to offer that engagement. And certainly you guys are doing that in the Prince George area.
Awesome. And not just Prince George, all of BC. We really want to make sure that we're a lot of the stuff we talk about is in the Prince George area, but I really want to make sure that people realize we're a BC group. We want you, if you're in Fort Nelson, if you're in Creston, if you're Vancouver, Victoria, Comox Valley, I can keep naming cities that I've lived in if you want. Wherever you are in BC, we want you guys involved with the BCRC and with CAPP as well. So one thing I wanted to get to talk to you about, and one of the reasons I'm super excited to bring you on the show today, is I would really like to talk about the way that women are leading the way in industry and the way and how we can, get some more women in the industry as well. But let's start with women leading the way.
Absolutely. So before I get into some really powerful names, I want to mention the fact that there's a reason why we need more women in the industry and why it's so important that these women are leading the way. So in the oil and gas industry, the cohort of 55 plus in the industry, those getting close to retiring, that number is increasing. And then the number of people between the ages of 15 to 24, that group is decreasing. So within the industry right now, we have about 1 in 2 women. And then if you think about other industries within Canada, women represent about 50%. So certainly a long way to go in the oil and gas industry.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think it's one in 5 women, right, in industry, or 1 in 6 or whatever it is. Yeah. So yeah, we have a long way to go. We need to make sure that we improve on that, and I'm very passionate about. I think more women should be involved in the industry. I know the BCRC is too, just because it is a male dominated industry right now, but it doesn't have to be. I think that women bring such a unique perspective to everything in everyday life, and I don't see why we're not utilizing that more in industry. I think that we're not, I think we need to figure out how to get more women involved in industry specifically. But who are some of the powerful women right now in industry? Who's leading the way? Who are the names that we have to look out for?
Names to look out for. So our very own Vice President of Government Relations based in Ottawa, Shannon Joseph, part of the CAPP team, phenomenal woman leader. Then I also think about voices and leaders like Susan Yorkovich out of the Council of Forestry Industries. I also just want to mention Chief Counselor Crystal Smith of the Highland Nation. And before I get into that, there's a podcast that she did with our contacts group, and it's a powerful interview that she did on the investment of LNG and resources within her community. And so my colleague Kelly, who's on the group chat, she's just going to insert that link to that podcast there if anybody would like to listen to that.
Yeah, I see it there in the comments. So
perfect.
If you guys need to find that, make sure you guys hit up that podcast. And while you're downloading podcasts, let's talk about that for a second. If you're downloading podcasts, make sure you download the BCRC podcast wherever podcasts are available. I'm very passionate and excited about it. Allie actually joined me before we came on the show today on the podcast. I think the BCRC show is lots of fun, but we could delve more into issues and to everything on the podcast, where we have a little bit more time and a little bit more leeway with El Presidente to talk about some of the different sort of stuff that we can talk about. So the future of industry, I foresee a couple things with the future of industry. I don't want to forget where we came from. I gave a speech today, or I was part of a public speaking event today here in Prince George, which was lots of fun. El Presidente and myself were there, and then we had a really cool interaction with this group here. And one of the things I said is, as being a young adult, as being a younger person in industry right now, I don't want to forget about the people that built the foundations, that put the concrete in the ground to make sure that we could expand the house and expand industry. So, as we talk about the future here, I also don't want to forget who got us to be able to bring industry into the future. So thank you to everyone that helped lay the foundation. But what specifically with women, why is it so important that we encourage women to pursue a job in industry and trades? I always think it's because of the unique perspective women bring, but I also think it's because we don't have enough in trades. So why should we be advocating for that?
Well, you're right. There aren't enough women in the industry. Go back to that 1 in 5 figure and the 1 in 2 in most other Canadian industries. But with that, these are high pay jobs. These are high value jobs. On average, women going into this industry, they could go from a job that pays approximately $11 an hour to a job that pays $30 an hour. And as you know, Clint, that type of income not only just goes to the woman in the job, but back to her family and back into her community. And that's a very powerful message for sure. So then when we think about getting more women involved in the industry, we have to think about the resources available to women. And so Thompson Rivers University in Kamloops has a phenomenal program through their Trades and Tech program for women in trades.
You know what, Thompson River University, we said this on the podcast, but I'll say it again. Phenomenal university. I went there. They had the decency to realize that I probably shouldn't be there and politely asked me to leave. But it is a great university. I can't, and their trades program, which I eventually went into, is phenomenal. And yes, you're right. It's a very welcoming place. The TRU facility, I find, it's conducive to all type of people in all walks of life. I really believe that they do a phenomenal job there. I see when I was going there for electrical, you see there was lots of women in there, and I don't see that if you go into other trades places. I would hope that it's like that, but TRU just does a phenomenal job. So I just want to give a big, didn't want to interrupt you there, because it's, I guess technically it's not my alma mater because I didn't really graduate from the university, but from the trade school I did graduate. So I just want to make sure that I gave a little shout out for them.
Well, I appreciate it, and I'm certain that they also appreciate it. And some of those women that you saw walking through the halls of the Trades and Tech building could have been one of the 200 students who graduated from that program when they started in 2010. So the fact that there are 200 women that graduated through this program, that received these additional resources and mentorship, that they do so phenomenally well, and now they're working in industries through Trans Mountain or Highland Valley Copper Mine.
Yeah. So if you guys have any questions for Allie Blades, please leave them in the comment section below. We're going to go through a couple more things here, and then once more questions come available, make sure you guys ask away. Whether it's about Canada Energy Citizens or it's about CAPP, make sure you ask Allie here while you have the chance how to become involved with CAPP or CEC as well. So let's actually talk about that there for a second. How do people become more active with Canada Energy Citizens? Like, you guys have a website obviously, but let's do a little of that right now.
Sure. So that engagement through Canada's Energy Citizens, it looks like many different things. So pre-COVID, when we were able to gather in person, we would host events in communities. So next week we were supposed to be at the Chilliwack Fair, a huge fair that attracts a lot of people from the Fraser Valley, and we're always there saying hi and sharing information about the industry. That's why we exist. We exist to balance that conversation. We exist to provide that education and to meet you and to sign you up so that you can continue to get that information. But now we're moving, of course, to this online world, and this is why this show is just so perfect to continue to share that message. So I appreciate that, Clint. But essentially, to get involved, sign up for our emails. Myself and my wonderful colleague, Jack Middleton, we will send you emails every once in a while from what's happening in BC. And then just broader, if you happen to be tuning in from another part of Canada, because we are a national organization with satellite offices all across this beautiful country, there might be a local outreach person there to provide those provincial specific updates. And then there's just some really great updates on just what's impacting us nationally too. So there's some really great content on all of our social media channels, and then there's an opportunity to engage with your local outreach representative too.
So let's just get into the backstory here. There are some questions filing in. I'm just going to let a couple of them build up before I kind of go into them. Let's talk about 100 Mile House. I know that has a nice little spot in your heart. I've been to 100 Mile House many, many times.
As everyone should.
As everyone should. That's right. That's very, very true. With recent, the recent closure of the Norboard Mill and some curtailments and everything, I think that small community is a really good thing to talk about here, as far as certain projects that may or may not be coming to BC, how we can expand and diversify economies, I think 100 Mile House would be all for that right now.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, earlier today, Clint, you and I were just chatting about those economic development opportunities, right? And that's why communities, all of these, but small communities like 100 Mile House, when you see investment go into those communities, but equally, when you see investments leave those communities or projects not crossing that finish line, that means jobs. Those means training opportunities for young people. So, going back to TRU, they have a satellite campus in Williams Lake, right?
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
These are opportunities going into these communities, but if that investment's not there, it's hard for additional resources to come into play.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I got one question here from Chris.
Sure.
What may be holding young women back in terms of career in the natural resource industry?
That is a phenomenal question. Thank you, Chris, for that question. So, what's holding women back? Perhaps it's just the notion that there aren't women there waiting for them when they get into the industry. Go back into that figure 1 in 5. Let's make it 1 in 2 because there are women in the industry. Our team, on our outreach team, we're 50% women. When I go out and about into the community, I have fantastic women telling me that they're proud to be part of that industry, but they would like to see more of them. So when there are those resources available to women, because perhaps we do need a little bit more in the way of resources to get to that graduation point and to get those apprenticeship jobs, right?
Yeah, for sure. I think, if you're starting at if a male and a female both start at a first year apprentice in welding, females have so much more that they have to deal with as far as life. You have kids. If you're a single mother, you have to have daycare. If you're, I know there's some of that with fatherhood too, but let's talk in reality here. The reality is women have it harder off than men do when it comes to a lot of stuff. And I think we have to be able to and willing to look at people in the mirror or ourselves in the mirror and say, hey, you know what? They need more help to be able to graduate. If a woman starts at the same year as a male, there's no reason why that woman shouldn't have the resources in place to be able to finish the same year as the male.
Absolutely. And providing that support, that's important. And then to know that when you do finally graduate and you do find yourself at one of those high paying jobs within this industry, that there is a culture of welcomeness.
Yeah. Well, it's all about like how can you help your mothers? How can you help your daughters? How can you help your sisters? I think that, we when we were doing a little bit of prep for the show, we kind of hit on how we can help how we can help mothers, daughters, and sisters, and how we can help them is just being more honest about how to come about that.
Yeah. Yeah.
So another question here, it's from Chris again. What may be holding? Nope, that was the same one I already read. So let's go with this one, Chris. How can the natural resource industry help with the current economic recovery? That is a very, very good question.
It is a really great question. It's a timely question. It's certainly what I find myself chatting about all the time, and that's not just specific to the oil and gas industry, but it's something that people are concerned about. There's a national debt of $343 billion waiting for us. And of course, that debt accumulated because we needed to take care of our neighbors. And that was important. But equally, how do we find ourselves and get out of that debt? It's an important conversation to have. So I'd like to just point to phenomenal women leaders who are running the show in this space. Margareta Dovgal is running this national task force. Her task force, with the support of ResourceWorks, where she's the director of research, they are coming together to provide input to decision makers so that they can make decisions on how do we get ourselves out of this economic downturn that we're in, right?
For sure. Yeah.
So Margareta leading this national task force, she's leading these conversations, and it's phenomenal because she's like this wonderfully powerful young woman running this show too. So how do we get ourselves out of this? Personally, I think it's the oil and gas industry. I think it's our natural resources because these are real jobs. There's a national or global demand for energy. We do it the best, so we can contribute to this in a very significant way.
Yeah, I mean, everything you just said there was really important. I think right now, if I want to go into West Coast Oilfin's project here a little bit, that is coming to Prince George. I'm a firm believer in positivity, so we'll be coming to Prince George. I think that these projects are if you're trying to talk to people about them and kind of sell them to people, you want to sell them as, listen, this is a huge part of the recovery of BC, Prince George, and Canada. That's what and it's not, you're not making up facts or anything like that. It's not fake news or anything. It's straight up. You know what? We're gonna have a huge debt that my kids are gonna have to pay off unless we actually start looking at ourselves and saying, how can we fix the problem? How we can fix the problem is making sure that these projects get into the EAO process at least, and passing some of them, and being environmentally conscious, but at the same time realizing that we're not building a pulp mill in 1962 where there was no environmental standards. We're building it in 2020 where everything is so much more revolutionized. The technology is so much more revolutionized, and it's going to help us in the future, and it's going to help my kids, and we're going to get through this debt a lot faster.
Yeah. So two great points there. Invest investment into our country, and that's investment confidence as well. So to allow those who have the resources to bring in that money and to bring in those jobs, to let them know that this is a place to put that. And
Yeah.
equally, we do it the best, so let us do it.
100% we do it the best. We're Canada. We do everything the best. Uh, and we're BC, so that is the best province in Canada. Sorry, Alberta.
You said it. I
yeah,
didn't.
I didn't say it. You said it. El Presidente said it. I didn't say it. What can the next generation do to make sure they have the skills necessary to succeed in their profession? That was from a viewer.
Oh, great question. So equally as we talk about women getting involved in this, we also have to think about the next generation getting involved. And so the BC Business Council just put forward a ton of articles in this space of potential lost generation. So we have a whole generation of students who are graduating and looking for where's that next job coming from, or where's that good paying job coming from. And then we also talk about potentially that they went into and invested in into education for a job that may or may not exist in these changing times too. And so to the question of how do we help these younger people, it's realizing that there's so many resources out there in industries you may not have initially thought of. Personally, within the energy industry,
Yeah, no, for
this is
sure.
where the jobs are.
Yeah, 100% agree. I think it's it's everywhere, and I think you just have to start helping with skill sets and help develop those skill sets. But industry is everywhere, as I say on the show every week, and I already said at the start, everyone's a BC resource, whether you agree with that or not. The fact is, with with living in Prince George, for example, uh the the restaurants here, people from the pulp mill go there, people from the sawmills go there, people from mines go there. Like, I really want people to realize that the money flows all from, not all of it obviously, but a lot of majority of the money in cities flow from the resource industry. And where we're in downtown Vancouver, as I've seen here in the chat pop up, you got some fans in Vancouver. There's a couple people giving you shout outs. Hey, I'm from Vancouver. So I think that's really exciting. So there you go. You're a big hit in Vancouver. Uh, no, but I really want people down in the southern part of BC to also realize that I love going to Vancouver. I love going down there. I love spending my money at the Canucks games. If the Grizzlies were there, I would love to spend my money at the Grizzlies games. I love going to the Whitecaps games, taking my family out to fancy restaurants down there. I love going down there, and I love going to Victoria. I love this beautiful province, and I want people to realize that my money is directly from the resource industry. I can't, that's where all my money comes from. So if that's me, trust me, there's hundreds of thousands of more people that can relate to that story.
Yeah, no, there was this really great article in CBC not too long ago about a bakery in Jasper that in the middle of this global health pandemic, they were able to stay open because of resource workers going into her store every day, getting their coffee and baked goods, and here they're world renowned. But that's exactly what you're talking about, right? It's being able to have those resources to put it back into our economy.
Yeah, I mean, absolutely. I don't, even with how if you listen to the first BCRC podcast, the BCRC podcast, we had a accountant, one of my best friends in the world, Rajpal Fagura, joined me, and he was talking about kind of how money flows through the system and how it affects mortgage rates and how it affects loan rates. I mean, it's you're not just talking about Clint spending money in Vancouver. You're talking about resource people spending their money in local municipalities and local places and affecting the tax rates and making it all flows relatively, as the great Mufasa said, the circle of life. So yeah, I quoted the Lion King on the BCRC show. That this is almost the podcast now. So I have another question here from Mr. Broussard. Do you have any examples of BC shovel ready projects?
Oh, I love this question. So Jack Middleton and I, my wonderful colleague, who's based out of the Vancouver office with me, we wrote a blog post together on shovel ready, shovel worthy projects. What we mean by that is that they exist. These jobs are ready to go, but they're also worthy in the sense of Canadians do it the best with the best environmental standards in the world. People look to us in that space, right? So Trans Mountain Pipeline expansion in our backyard, in Kamloops, in our backyard in Burnaby very soon. Then we also think about the $40 billion investment through LNG Canada in northern BC. Two phenomenal projects that are the LNG project at its peak will employ about 4,500 people.
Yeah, that's
people.
phenomenal. I mean, and if you want other examples of projects, let's not even go in the oil and gas sector. Like our company just finished a project in Williams Lake in a pellet facility. I mean, it's shovel done, I guess, but there are projects happening. The forest industry is still spending money. It is. Other facilities are still spending money. So there is, all you got to do is, if you're a contractor listening to this, you just got to hit the pavement. As my dad, I swear if I was going to get tattoos, I'd have a tattoo on me that said pavement concrete equals money or something like that. Because my dad always is trying to pound into me, hit the pavement. That's how you make your money. So there is so many projects ready to go. I think all you got to do is go out there and find them. I'm going to do a couple plugs here. Just make sure if you guys follow us, if you only follow us on Facebook, you're not doing it properly. You need to go to Instagram, follow us at the BCRC on Instagram. Follow us on we have a massive Twitter following of 40 people. I keep making fun of it because I know at least 75% of the people on Facebook have Twitter. And that means you're just not quite there yet. All you got to do is click the Twitter logo and search at BC_resources to find us on Twitter. Find us on LinkedIn as well. Just type in BC Resources Coalition on LinkedIn. Also find us on YouTube. I really want YouTube to take off because, quite honestly, I want to start doing the shows on YouTube here eventually. I think it's we can have more people view in, and then not everyone has Facebook. I think it would be a unique, cool platform to use, and same with Instagram and Twitter. I think we can use those differently. And last thing, let's get some swag on the streets, guys. I've been hounding you guys for weeks to get out there and buy some BCRC swag. Go to the bcrc.ca, buy yourself a hat, buy yourself a t-shirt, buy whatever you want. I want to see some more stuff on there. I can give some shout outs to some people who have recently bought some BCRC stuff. It's awesome to see. I was walking down the street, I seen a BCRC hat the other day. I was very, very excited. I thought it was the coolest thing in the world, to be honest. I thought it was awesome.
But
And
there's a
also,
missed opportunity. I should have worn a BCRC shirt
yes, you
next
should
time.
have. Oh my goodness, what do you do? I should have had a CAPP shirt on. We could have played swapsies there.
Next
Uh,
time.
yeah, that's right. And then the last thing too is make sure you're on the lookout for me at the farmers market. I do go to the farmers market. My wife and I, we buy our produce from the farmers market. We buy our chips from the farmers market. Actually, there's a really phenomenal place here in Prince George that makes nacho chips just so good. So if you guys see me at the farmers market, please go ahead, come up to me. Let's make sure we're socially distanced a little bit, and say, hey, I want a sticker, and I have the stickers on me. So if you guys see me there, feel free. I'm a open book, and I'll give you some swag, some stickers, and let's get some more stuff on the street. So I have another question here.
Okay.
How can we amplify the voices of young Indigenous women trying to get energy projects off the ground, but constantly being blocked by radical activists?
Hmm. Very good question in the sense that before COVID hit us, what was the front of every newspaper and top of mind of a lot of people who were impacted by protests across this country? There's a phenomenal new organization, the Indigenous Resource Network, that would be a really great source for information in that space. To the question of getting more young Indigenous people involved and Indigenous women involved, there's this really great article from Peter Kenter. My great colleague Kelly will put in the link to that.
Hint, hint, Kelly.
There you go. So this is where LNG Canada and another company stepped up and provided resources for women to get that education so that they could end up working on the project. So it highlights two women working on the project now, both young and a little bit older, but just restarting their lives with these great high paid jobs.
Miss Trudy Clausen, yes, I agree. Let's make a BCRC t-shirt day. I think you know what, maybe one day maybe, you know what, if you're watching this right now, if you have BCRC swag, stickers, whatever it is, take a picture of it. We'll reshare it on our social media accounts. You can get your maybe you can become Instagram, Twitter famous, and we'll start sharing. If anybody wants to take pictures of that stuff, I will, and tag us in it. I will instantly find it and make sure it gets reshared. And so I fully support any t-shirt day for sure. Dan, a question from Dan. Can you comment on some of the initiatives to employ more women in trades on major oil and gas projects in BC, such as the LNG Canada and Trans Mountain?
So sorry, could you read the question again? Yeah, so comment on.
Yeah, for sure. Can you comment on some of the initiatives to employ more women in trades on major oil and gas projects in BC, such as LNG Canada and the Trans Mountain project?
Yeah. So really, really great question. There are a ton of women networking and groups. So in this regard, I think about Women Build Futures. I'm just going to list a couple of other organizations: Build Together, and the BC Center for.
Great name right there.
It really is.
That is, yeah.
And the BC Center for Women in Trades. These are supportive organizations whose main mission is to get more women involved. And wherever project you may end up on, or wherever company, whether it's oil and gas, mining, carpentry, they provide those resources.
Awesome.
Those are just the ones that I have here, but there are many more. And then on the professional side of things, we see this a lot in Alberta, but there are Women for Energy groups where you can professionally network with other women in the industry. And those are phenomenal ways to enhance the conversation a bit more too.
Awesome. Well, this has been a really good session. There's lots of comments going around. The Canadian or Canada Energy Citizens has been very active in the comment section. So I think that's really cool. Everything you're kind of talking about, they're sharing right away. I don't think I have any more questions here coming in. So I'm just going to maybe ask one or two more of my own. And if a couple more come in, we're going to close it up here in maybe 3 or 4 minutes, guys. So if you have any more questions, please make sure that you leave them in the comment section for Miss Allie Blades. So where do you see the BCRC and CAPP kind of coming together here to do some cool stuff? I know that we've talked about how we can kind of get involved. How are we going to grow this relationship? I know that you guys have taken a keen interest in us because of our organization, as far as like actually being an organized group and fundamentally sound. So where do you see kind of the BCRC fitting in with CAPP?
So I see, for one, Trudy's going to make an event page for us to wear BCRC and CAPP and CEC swag. So there's one. But we really enjoy this ecosystem of like-minded organizations, and certainly BCRC is that, right? And there are so many others coming up as we all aim to enhance the voices of the silent majority and of people supportive of our industries, right? So where do we go from here? We continue to amplify voices and get people involved. And that's what Canada's Energy Citizens does. That's what you guys do. When you sign people up for BCRC, you provide that information, right? Through their podcasts and through the Facebook Live. You're able to provide this critical information so that we can go back out there into the community and hear all of these wonderful success stories. And perhaps we don't do a good enough job of that as Canadians, and just kind of like shamelessly promoting the industry and these things. But we need to do a better job at that, because what you'll find out is that people do agree with you. People do agree with you that supporting our oil and natural gas industry in Canada is a good thing. Absolutely. And we can't be afraid of that.
And you can't be afraid of people disagreeing with you either. I mean, there's always opposition. And I think that, as long as opposition and people on both sides of it, that they're willing to listen to each other and talk, I think that's when we can get most of our work and most of our stuff done, is being able to have adult conversations and both sides being willing to listen, and not just have a older person not listening to a younger person, a left person not listening to a right person not listening to a left person. It goes in all ways. So there has to be give and take, and people have to realize that we can improve so much as a society if we just listen and learn and understand each other. And that goes for all facets. That goes for women in industries. That goes for LGBTQ people in industry. That goes for everything. If I just really wish that people would understand that we can grow so much better as a society if we just listen to each other, because there's so many cool and so many unique opportunities out there for everybody, that we just need to grow and hear a voice and make sure that we all understand each other. So I think that's it. I don't see any more questions as I get really into it right there, and and a little bit off character, I guess, is the best way to put it. But Allie, this has been lots of fun today. I look forward to having you more on the show. If you have any closing comments, this is your chance.
Thanks, Clint. So I just wanted to say thank you to you and the BCRC team for providing us with this opportunity to share what we do with a lot of passion as well. And the information that, whether it's the Canadian Association of Petroleum Producers or Canada's Energy Citizens, can provide. So take a look at our Canada's Energy Citizens information. There's a lot of really great fun facts about the industry, but then equally through our Context Examined, we have some really great pieces of how you use petroleum in real life.
Awesome. Well, honestly, guys, this was lots of fun. I can't wait for next week. So for Allie Blades of CAPP, this is Clint Chappell with the BCRC, and you have been watching the BCRC show. You guys have a great night, a great weekend. And remember, next week, it's August 11th for the show. My wife's birthday is on the 12th and my daughter's is on the 13th. So Clint needs to make sure he has all that in order. So you guys have a great night, and we'll see you next week. Thanks.